as people are just tweeting like crazy right now, the draft begins right now. I think everybody kind of knew that the Sixers were going to be the first team that really had a decision to make, that it was pretty cut and dry for both Dallas and San Antonio. And I think they've done a good job. I mean, I feel like they've done a pretty good job since, what was that, when Matisse Thybulle?
I think it's VJ.
Kyle Neubeck is saying
I think it's VJ.
That he thinks it is VJ.
I do not know that for sure, and I don't know that they're keeping him, but I believe that's who it is.
Okay.
Keep going. What I thought. Yeah, or whatever. I mean, I think we'll, if they do make the pick, Kyle, is this a situation where, if they make the pick, maybe, I don't want to bring up any bad memories, but maybe hold on for.
I said it all day today. I'm waiting at least 25 minutes before I make any declarations about who is the long-term Sixer.
And I told you, what did I say? That night, I think it was like 12
VJ
minutes.
Edgecombe is the pick, by the way.
Yeah. All right. Kyle Neubeck is reporting that VJ Edgecombe is the selection here at pick number 3.
I'm told that they are keeping it, too. There's no trade.
No trade.
And Derek says no trade. So it looks like, let's let everybody know, the man is all smiles right now in front of us on the television. And it appears to be VJ Edgecombe is your newest Philadelphia 76er. Kyle Neubeck with the reporting there. Derek also following it up. Not a trade. VJ Edgecombe will now be a member of the Philadelphia 76ers. He said, Rich, the other day, I guess they like Bohemians a little bit. Buddy Hield, a year and a half ago, and now this guy. Now look,
I think Eric Gordon was on that team too.
Eric Gordon too. Yeah. So when Kyle brought up the fact that Cooper Flagg was on that select team, he was on the national team and played really well with those pros that we bring up. DeAndre Ayton, who you brought up, he was on that team as well. So he was surrounded by a lot of pros and got a lot of really, really good buzz back from that.
People who are big VJ proponents will point to that. Now, it's not a huge sample size, but the fact that he was 18 years old and he was playing in Olympic qualifiers, like the idea, it's about as far removed from the McDonald's All-American game as you get. Like that is serious basketball against grown men, and he handled himself very well. Obviously, was playing with some NBA players. And, maybe you should get acquainted with those highlights, Sixers fans.
I guess so. The commissioner is on the clock. Let's see. All right. We're live, so we still have to talk. There's no audio, so we still have to talk.
There you go.
VJ. There it is.
So now that there's some certainty here, let me echo some stuff that we've said already and that you guys are getting into. I think Philadelphia will absolutely love this kid as a person. Every single thing we hear about him, he is a rock star of a person, right? We heard it from Baylor coach Scott Drew. I've talked with people that had him on the Bahamas staff that said, look, he's coming into an environment where these are grown men, right? There are NBA players on this team. This kid's a teenager playing up, and he's coming into practice every day like he's shot out of a cannon, right? Mm-hmm. Ultra hard worker. His game has grown a ton over the last few years. Went from basically an off-the-radar recruit to a top 5 guy in his class. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't happen without a lot of sweat equity. But more importantly, it's work that's purposeful, right? Guys can work hard and might not work on the right things, might not work on things that are meaningful to them as a college prospect, as an NBA player. And so everything you hear about this kid is that he's willing to come in and challenge people. He'll go into a meeting, upperclassmen in college, and if you're screwing up, we had the whole thing last year with Maxey calling out Joel Embiid for being late. VJ Edgecombe is not going to be shy about what he thinks is wrong, what he thinks the team needs to do better. He is very serious about his prep. He played with Carmelo Anthony's son in high school. Yep. And obviously Carmelo, future Hall of Famer, has passed on a lot of things to his son about how to be a basketball player, how to potentially be a pro. And he has said, I learned as much from VJ as I'm learning from my dad, right? About how to be a professional, how to study film, what to do in terms of game prep, all that stuff. This is a kid that is easy to root for, and he's a hell of a basketball player on top of that.
All right. What do you think, man?
No, I mean, look, I think he's both a combination of a relatively safe bet, but also someone who I think has significant untapped potential. We have talked a lot about what do you look like in a different context? And which one of these guys has the best chance of having outlier development? And I think there's a case to be made for VJ in both of those. I think when he gets to NBA spacing, I think he's going to be a more effective, shot creator off of the bounce. I think Rich has been talking a lot about this, and he's 100% true, that being able to get up and down the floor, and not only that, but being able to help and recover on defense is such a huge part in today's game. And also, he's just an absolute maniac off the court who works constantly. And I do think, some of the improvement he showed late in the season, because he came out and he was really struggling with his shot early on. Over the last 17 games, he averaged 17 points, shot 46% from the field and 36% from three-point range. He was making way more of his shots, most of those off the catch. He does have to improve as a pull-up jump shooter. He does have to improve with his offhand. But if he is able to make that, because Kyle's right, he wasn't a high-level recruit. He started off in the Bahamas, spent 2 years in Florida, then came up to New York to play. He wasn't a high-level recruit until his last 2 years. The progress he has made over the last couple of years, combined with his incredible athletic tools and his work ethic, I think should give Sixers fans a lot of hope.
Rich.
So I'm actually going to read from our Die Hard draft guide, written by Will Gottlieb from CHGO, and I don't know who the other guy was. But so let's just dig into the player.
And he was third on there, big boy, right?
He was third.
Okay.
And by the way, we now have a story on VJ Edgecombe, a new story on VJ Edgecombe live at allphly.com.
Let's take people behind the curtain on that, by the way. How many words were written?
I had 6,500 words written on, and they are still there if I need them at some point, on 6 different prospects and trade down snenaries.
6,500 words. How many got used, do you think?
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Anyway,
that's for another time.
That's what you get for needing to publish right away. Anyway, VJ Edgecombe's strengths, athleticism. Probably the best run and jump athlete in the class. Like Derek said, I think that's super important because the NBA, athleticism, endurance, all that stuff really matters. Like he just mentioned the closing out and stuff like that. Again, that's not the most important part of this, but you watch the Oklahoma City Thunder, they win because they close out and they're on a string defensively. Mm-hmm. That's a big deal. Super explosive finisher. Think he's going to be dynamite in transition. As a defender, elite athleticism combined with good awareness put him in position to create plays at the point of attack and in help. Will create transition opportunities, and he had an excellent block rate and an excellent steal rate. And then off-ball scoring, right? He only shot 34% on threes, but that got better as the season went on. Usually the big flag is when a guy beats up against the bad teams at the beginning of the year.
Christian and whoever.
So he played in a tough conference, and he got better as that went along.
But he healed there to celebrate with him.
Good to see.
Former Sixer and current Golden State Warrior. I'm sorry to cut you off.
His Bahamas guy, as Derek mentioned, should be dynamic attacking closeouts and scoring against the tilted defense. Okay. Areas for improvement, shot creation. That pick and roll ball handling. Sounds like he wants to get there, but he's not there yet.
Yep.
It only accounted for 21.5% of his offense. Isolation only accounted for 4.9% of his possessions, and his passing creations. 106 assists in 33 games. Not a crazy assist rate for his usage rate. And Derek mentions that his swing skills are his floor spacing. And I think he's going to be able to shoot it off the catch.
Yes.
It's really going to be, can you shoot off the dribble? That is a huge element of when you run a pick and roll for this guy, can you force the defense to go over the screen? If that's the case, he's got that athleticism. He can get downhill. His scoring, he should be a pretty high floor player with the defense, with the athleticism, with the off-ball shooting. That is a big one. And then the last thing, his finishing needs a little bit of work. Only 45% from the field on non-dunk layups at the rim. I know that was pretty long, but I wanted to get everybody a snapshot of here is the guy that the Sixers are drafting. And we're also podcasting for 4 hours, so you might as well read all.
We're doing 10 hours of podcasting over these 2 days. You can talk as much as you want, buddy. It's encouraged.
Anyway, so that seems to be pretty well laid out, where some of the scoring, some of the stuff with the ball in his hands, that's going to determine how high of a ceiling he is as an NBA player.
Yeah, so for me, just watching how he plays, all of that stuff that you just laid out there, I'm excited to see him with the spacing now in the NBA after talking to Scott Drew. Of course, he's going to talk up his guy, but when you do get the feedback that you do about the way that he works, the way that he wants to improve, the way that he wants to get better, the mindset, and just the mentality of all the working. And I thought it was important when we found out that he worked out and that Tyrese Maxey was the one that flew in from wherever he was and came back to Philadelphia to meet with him. And if there's one thing that we know about Tyrese Maxey, it's always the 1% better. Justin Edwards followed through, make sure he worked out with him. Whatever you want to say about Ricky Council, at least worked to try to make sure that he stayed into the league, right? Of following along with Tyrese Maxey, you know who to go to try to connect yourself with and try to get better. They have at least established an early relationship, and this is a guy that he's going to be in the backcourt with and try to figure out how to play off of him, play those minutes next to him. Is he going to be on the ball sometimes where Maxey can, as we've talked about, where he's maybe at his best, off the ball and scoring? Is this where
hey, by the way,
it's going to happen?
Tom Knipple at 4.
Okay, all right.
That's someone that we've connected to them, I think, a lot throughout this late part of the process.
So when you talk about waiting that 15, 20 minutes also, you never know.
Something to keep an eye on.
But for it, I bring that up because that is important. If he is going to be the one that's the sponge and trying to absorb all the knowledge that he can possibly get from these veteran players on the team, he fits. And when we brought up the fact that Ace Bailey could be one that come in, will he accept that role? This kid is going to accept that role of, I'm going to fit in. I want to bust through that door, but I also know that I have to take my steps to get there, and I'm going to do all those other winning intangible things of the 50-50 ball, get that loose ball, the tips, the deflections, and all to get out in the open floor. And it's going to be one that's maybe takes some time, but it's going to be fun to watch. I've also, when we've talked about him in the past, his shooting, you guys said he's going to make the shots on the open looks. The form is there. The mechanics look really good. It's the stuff of, can I do it off the bounce? And what does that mean? 1-2 dribble, bang, pull up, or 1-2. If you make enough two on the catch and shoot, hey man, they're gonna be flying by you, and you can put that ball on the floor and you can make a highlight at the rim. I noticed that he is also, because of his representation, he's working out with the guard whisperer, as they call him. And the guard whisperer has a pretty good reputation. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and a ton of other players in this draft that he has a few with his class, with his representation. But the guard whisperer really has to get him with the 1-2 dribble pull up and all of that stuff to make sure that he becomes that complete package overall. But a good pick for the Sixers here at 3.